Hi. All right, today we are going to start a worm compost bin. Well, we've already had ours going a little bit, but there's a lot of interest from people that want to start composting at home. So this is a really fun thing that you can do with your kids and keep it somewhere small. It doesn't have to be a big thing. So, and it's a great way to recycle your scraps. So let's start. All right, yay! What you guys need are gloves. Everyone show me your gloves. Yay. All right, next we are going to need our container. So the way worm composting works is we have multiple layers and levels, and they have to have lots of air holes in them. And ideally they're opaque like this. Unless you have just regular Tupperware bins and then you store them under a cabinet or something, because worms like to be in the light or in the dark. That's a quiz question. Do worms like to be in the light or in the dark?
The dark.
Right, Elliot wins.
The dark.
The dark.
Charlotte.
Dark. So I bought these. They're nice and dark, so I can put them anywhere. And I drilled lots of holes in them. So the lid has holes. This layer has holes in the bottom. This layer has holes in the bottom. This layer does not. This bottom layer catches all the liquid, so there's no holes there. All right, next, after you have your container ready, you're gonna need the medium for the worms to live in. You guys, what's a medium that worms can live in?
Soil.
Soil.
Boom.
What else can they live in? Because they can eat through anything that was once living.
Rotten food.
Worms.
Rotten food.
Rotten food, well, they are the worms. What can worms live in?
Yeah. Compost.
Yeah, they're making compost for us. They can actually eat through paper. What's another ingredient that they need, you guys?
Water.
That's right, water. They need to stay moist because they breathe through their skin, and they need that moisture to be able to breathe. Not too much water though, because they can drown, right? Yay! Some paper. I have all my shredded paper.
Oh, you're filming.
We're gonna put it in here. Guys, do you want to help put a handful of shredded paper in the worm bin, the new
You
home?
already put a handful in.
Go ahead.
Hey, Mom.
Paper. Toby actually shredded this paper as one of his chores to earn money. And we're not gonna fill it all the way just like that. That's good, okay?
That's
All right, that's plenty. Next, we're going to add some dirt that I just dug out of our garden. And we're gonna mix it in with that. And then we're gonna add a little water. So let's do that. We're doing this outside because with those holes in there, a lot of that dirt and water came through. That's all right.
on my leg.
All right, so we're good and mixed. The next thing we're gonna add is kitchen scraps. So why don't you hand that out, Charlotte, to everybody. Kitchen scraps can be anything that used to grow. So vegetables, fruits, things that will decompose. But what won't decompose are things like plastic, like the little stickers on the avocados.
Like coffee used to grow.
Coffee beans. Coffee comes from beans. They used to grow. Paper comes from trees. It used to grow. All these things will decompose. So go ahead and start putting them in with the newspaper and the dirt. All right, the smaller things are, the better. It's easier for the worms to chew through smaller things. So if you can, chop them up a little bit. If you can't, that's okay too. They'll eventually get through it. But what we're gonna do is kind of bury the food under all that newspaper and soil. Look at that tomato.
Charlotte, did you dump in the bag?
Gross. This is fun, guys. Get squishy dirty. This is a fun project. You don't want to get squishy dirty?
I don't want to get yucky.
That's why we're wearing gloves. You're fine.
More tomato.
Hey, Elliot, you want to play catch?
While your kids are doing this, you can ask them, how does it feel? Is it soft or hard? How does it smell? Sweet, sour, good,
Oh, we just
bad.
Water, it's probably not gonna be dry.
Go through all the senses. That's
Can I
always
pour all of this in?
fun learning for the kids. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to bite.
All right, so mix it in. We're
Wanna
making
bite?
a big salad for our worms.
Ew.
Pretty gross. That's okay. There are decomposers.
We
They're
can
gonna
use
love
this
this.
to make tomato
Can I break the bag?
No, bag is made out of plastic, so will that decompose?
Squeeze.
Oh, Charlotte?
And it
No.
comes.
Did plastic used to grow?
What's that?
No.
No, right. So that has to go in the regular trash.
Could be what's that.
Okay. All right. So here we have our food hidden in there. We have some good dirt and silt, some real fine like pebble material. Because guess what, you guys? Worms have gizzards.
What's a gizzard?
A gizzard is like another little stomach that pre-chews the food for them. It grinds up all the food to get through their body. Do worms have teeth?
No.
No.
Right. They need the sand and the silt from items like dirt or even eggshells. You can crunch up eggshells and put them in there, and that helps them digest their food. So,
Sandwich.
or a little bit of sand. All right, so let's look and see what worm castings look like. Worm castings are just worm poop. Here was some food I gave them a while ago. We can bury that in there. But this is worm castings. These are worm castings. It's worm poop, otherwise known as really good fertilizer for our garden. Look at that. So that's what your end result, what you want it to look like.
It smells
Smell
good.
it.
Real brown and crumbly.
It smells good.
We are going to find some worms in here and we're going to relocate them to this new layer. So let's do that. Oh, there's one. All right, so we dumped out our worm castings plus the worms, plus a little bit of old food. And what these guys are doing now, you're going to find some worms. We're actually giving some to my neighbor who wants to make her own little worm bin. So that's what inspired this whole lesson, but we'll give her those. But what we would normally do is just move these up into the new layer that we just made. These are called red wigglers. They are the type of worm that lives really well in small spaces. This is what they use for worm composting a lot. You can get them at Lake Poway or any place where you find fishing bait. These are the same kind of worms that they often give people to put on their hooks. So there we go.
Oh, I can't pick it up.
I know, that's why I give you the sticks. It's
I found a little
Don't
baby.
hurt them. Be careful.
Trying to pick it up. I found a
Just,
little
if
baby
you need to
one.
find a flat leaf or something to pick them up, that's good too. Yeah, you'll see little babies in there. They kind of look like teeny little strings.
Look.
Wait, let's see.
Get in my hand.
Oh yeah,
Stupid worm.
cute. It's a little out of focus, but and sometimes you'll see these little tiny yellow. They look like little yellow grapes, and those are actual eggs. Like here is one, I think. Where's my finger? There. That is a excuse me, worm egg, and out of there will hatch little tiny baby worms. So you want to bring those over too if you see any of those. All right, so we will work on that. And we'll keep the castings, and then that will go back into our garden as compost. And this is called harvesting your worm castings. So red wigglers are preferred, but if you can't get to a store, look for them online. Or you could probably just use regular earthworms, I'm not sure. We've always just used these types, but it's worth searching and finding out. Yeah. Look how busy they are and quiet. Wrigley just had a worm drop on his head. I don't know why you're choosing there to sit. Come on, Wrigley. Come. Here is some recycled paper. I don't know if you can see. That is the actual, like the glassine part of an envelope. So if you do shred paper for your compost, try not to shred that plastic part because it never decomposes. This stuff is so annoying to pick out of garden beds. All right, so we're putting all of our new worms, or our old worms, in our new box, along with any old leaves that didn't decompose yet. here's the bottom layer with no holes in it. It catches all the real wet stuff. So we like to empty that pretty often and dig out any worms that may have fallen in here. But this is real good stuff for your soil too. You can take the liquid and mix it with water and water your vegetables with it or plants.
This one's yellow.
Yeah, all different colors depending on what they eat, right?
Whoa.
Cool.
There's a ton.
Got on my gloves.
It's not mud. It's poop.
All right, so how many hearts does a worm have? Does anybody know?
10.
6.
Close.
5.
5. Yeah,
I
that's
said
right.
5.
Is this a
I said
myth
5.
or is it true? If you cut a worm in half, it will regenerate and grow.
Myth.
Myth.
What do you say, Elliot?
Myth.
It's a myth, you're right.
Yeah.
If you cut it in half, it
Oh,
will
I didn't say
die.
anything.
If you cut just like the tail off, it might scab over and still live. But they do have organs running all the way down through their body, so if you cut them right in the middle of their little heart circulatory system, they will die. So don't cut them. Can worms swim?
No.
No.
They drown.
No, we know that.
They
from
do
diet.
need air. Why do worms come out on the sidewalk when
'Cause they need
it's-
water.
when it's raining?
Water.
Because they want to drown themselves.
They actually kind of are drowning when they're under the ground and it's raining. They're coming up because they can't get any air.
Oh, kalima shakdiri.
But then they get stuck when the sun comes out and they dry on the sidewalk.
Yay!
Yay.
So we've emptied out their old home. We're still going to empty that out, but for the sake of the shot, these guys are getting tired. We are going to put our worm bin back together. So what we're going to do is make sure that these guys have all their food. They're a medium that they can crawl around in. It's nice and moist. And then we're going to add a layer of dry to the top. And that kind of keeps them all tucked into bed. That way the compost can do its thing underneath and we won't get too many like bugs or flies or ants or things like that coming in. This kind of is like a lid. You could use dry leaves. You could use the coconut core from the garden store. You guys, cut it out. Okay, so once we have our tucked in worms, we're going to put that right onto this layer. What we could do is start filling this up with food and paper and dirt also if we want. And what will happen is as the worms chew up everything in that layer, they'll crawl up through the holes to the new food in this layer. And then the same with this one. You could fill that one up with stuff too, if you want. If you only want to do one layer at a time, that's fine too. I usually just do it that way. And then we have our lid on top. I store this right under my cabinet over there. Keep it nice and cool and feed them about once a week, maybe about a half a cup to a cup of food. But if you notice there's too much food in there, don't overfeed them because it'll get mucky-gucky in there. When you do go to add food, you're going to want to pull away this kind of dry layer, put your food in, and then cover it back up again. All right? Don't feed your worms too much of any one thing. Like they can't handle too much citrus, too much onion, or too much like broccoli. Kind of anything that would be hard on your stomach would be hard for them to digest, not too much of any one thing. Other fun things you can do with your kids with worms is you can have them draw worms. You can do math with worms and get some gummy worms and cut them into, you know, half and quarter and third, do some measuring. You can sing some worm songs. There's a band called the Banana Slug Band, I think, and it's called Dirt Made My Lunch and talks about the whole life cycle and how we need our dirt, and worms are part of that. So much stuff out there. Let me know what you find. It's really fun. Kids love the worms. All right, thank you, Con Kids.
Yeah.
Yay for worms.
Yay for worms.
All right, tell me how it goes. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see if I can answer. Or the lovely Master Gardener's website always has great answers for things. So, bye, thank you.